Hey, how's it going? How are you? How you do? How you doing? I hope you're doing good, man. We're gonna be doing a timeless love reading. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being patient in my little bit of a. I didn't really take that much of a break. It's maybe about a week. But yeah, thank you guys for being patient. I'm not gonna take too much of your time. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath, say a prayer, and get into the reading. All right, pray to God, Spirit, my guides, my angels, and my ancestors to help myself, the collective, and anybody watching to see the clearest messages for the highest good of all involved in our love and relationships for a timeless love reading. If you want a book, a personal reading, everything is in the description. I will never contact you for a reading in any way, shape, or form. The only way to book a reading with me is to send me an email or to DM me on Instagram, and those are both in the description. Excuse me. That said, happy Aquarius season. I feel like there was, and happy Lunar New Year, those two that I missed. Happy Lunar season, Lunar New Year, and happy Aquarius season. So, funny story right before as I'm shuffling. So, in the area I come to, people like to come and like drive crazy. You know, you guys have seen on the videos, you hear the cars. So it just turns out that a car the same make and model as mine in the same color did that. And I didn't really think anything of it, you know what I mean? And they did their thing and they left. And so I'm just chilling, and then one of the security guards that I always see when I'm recording, he ended up him and another guy came up to me and they're like, "We got you on camera driving recklessly," and they're basically just trying to catch me up in it. And I was like, and I had to like show them because I had just posted on Instagram, and so I had to show them. I was like, "Yo, like I've been here just doing I've been doing tarot readings. That wasn't me." Like you can check the cameras, like the dude literally, they just came up and then they left. And so I just thought it was funny. I was literally about to start the reading and that happened. And so I don't know if that's a message for you guys. There may be somebody out there trying to get you caught up in something that you didn't do. So if that's like a message or a warning of some kind, just, you know, just dot your I's and cross your T's, you know, have receipts if you need them. I had the receipts. I showed on the timestamp and I was like, I showed all my cards are sitting here. I was like, look, dude, I'm here like a couple days a week. Usually I don't come here for that. I don't come here to drive crazy. So yeah, I just thought it was kind of funny. I was just like, I don't know, man, because I'm always here. So I was like, I figured they would probably say something at some point. But it wasn't for that. But they didn't say anything. They're just like, well, if it is you, like, no, if it is or it isn't you, don't do it again. I was just like, all right. But one of the other guy was cool. The guy that I usually see here, he was pretty chill about it. Because he sees me. I see him all the time. He sees me and I always wave to him and stuff. So he probably was like, yeah, this guy is here doing that. Anyways, that's just kind of a random story I wanted to tell. I just thought it was kind of funny because it literally just happened. So we are going to be starting with the Hieronymus Bosch deck. We got two cards that came out. And we're going to start with them. So we have King of Vessels. King of Vessels says a fair man, humility, gathering blessings through work. And then we have Princess of Berries. We've gotten that one before. It says courtship, love, romance, and relation. So just off rip, before I get into these cards, these are very emotional cards. I mean, in terms of like Vessels is technically cups in this deck. And then Princess of Berries, that has to do with like, again, the courtship, all that kind of stuff. And this is somebody who, it's either you're courting somebody or somebody's going to be courting you. I feel like it's kind of a give and take process. It's not something that goes any which way. I mean, I feel like when you enter into a new connection, if this is the connection we've been tapping into for a few readings now, you know, it's an ebb and flow of courting. It's not something where it's just always going to be a straight line of like, I like you, you like me, let's go get married tomorrow. Like, I don't really feel like it happens like that. I feel like it's more like this, and this is just a reminder that, you know, in any new relationship or a divine connection, it's going to take what's the word I'm looking for, consistent effort and work. And that's kind of what I feel like the space you might be in with this person. If you are entering into a new connection or you are in a connection with somebody, it's this energy of recognizing the fact that like all the work that you've been putting in is going to be paying off. I feel like you've made an impact on somebody. You've genuinely given somebody an impression that's, you know, they see you as somebody very emotionally mature, somebody that can actually be stable and emotionally fulfilling in a relationship, whether that's friendship or otherwise. But we do, you know, romantic love readings here. So we're going to go ahead and just read these from the book though. And then we're going to get into it. Yep, so King of Vessels, I'll hold this up for you while we read it. All right, it says a fair man, humility, gathering blessings through work. Saint Anthony, the king of vessels, kneels beside a stream and fills a pitcher with water. He represents a quiet, humble person. Even though if they aren't religious, this person has a pure heart and is content to gather whatever blessings may be bestowed upon them. This is key to the card. The King of Vessels is not being showered with rain from above. He is taking initiative and collecting water on his own. Just like the traditional King of Cups, this king rules over the domain of the soul. He also holds a staff in his left hand and a cup in his right. The work required to gather the blessings of this card will be creative, the kind expressed by the inner soul. So we'll go ahead and read the other one, and then we'll go ahead and just kind of maybe pull some clarifying cards and get into these. Where's the berries? There we go. Princess of Berries. Alright, so here's the Princess of Berries. I'm pretty sure we read this one before, but we'll read it one more time. It says, the only princess in the Minor Arcana, the Princess of Berries embodies courtly romance and the ideal of true love. She sits on the ground with a large berry between her legs. She has carefully peeled back the top and is enjoying the fruit while her suitor watches her with a smile on his face. The suitor has already presented one berry to the princess and has a second one ready to bestow. This is not a one-night stand or a fly-by-night romantic tryst. He genuinely loves her and wants to provide for her. Considering the position of the berry, we can also be assured that they will have a courtship that is both sexual and passionate. So, it pretty much just talks about exactly what we just talked about. I feel like either whether this is you or somebody else, there is courtship going on. This is a new connection that has already been invested in. I feel like we're kind of just continuing based off of what we've talked about already. This is a continuation of that relationship. If you want to go back and watch any of the other readings, you're going to start to see the patterns of this connection coming to be. We just kind of went through this really big phase of letting go of a lot of past stuff. We finally have come out of all of the retrogrades. Right now, I think every single planet is direct until April, and that's when we'll start having, so I don't know what's going, retrograde, but everything is direct right now. Things are moving forward. We are in Aquarius season. It's a very rebellious, fast-moving, different type of energy. I personally enjoy Aquarius energy. It's a very creative energy, and I feel like that energy is being applied not only to your, like your own personal growth and career and hobbies, but in your love and relationships, right? I feel like, what is it? I think this is the year of 7, right? Is that what it is? Yeah, this is a 7 year, and apparently 7 has to do with Venus, and so it's technically a year of love, according to a reader that I did see talk about that. But this is what I'm seeing, man. I'm going to talk about the bottom of the deck, though. That's the only thing sticking out to me is we do have this card here. It just says, Prince of Skates, indecision, too many options, and balanced pleasure. Okay, let's read that from the book real quick. Let's see what it says. And then I think I'm going to maybe get into something a little different. So maybe a continuation of what we did last reading, some challenges and maybe stuff like that that you may be facing in the situation. So let's go ahead and read this, because the only reason I say so is because this came up. Like, everything looked really, really good on the surface, but then we have this here. So it says, our young page of skates has become a prince. He's learned his lesson and is unlikely to fall through the ice again. However, his arms and legs are bent and seem to be going in different directions. His heart still lacks a true love for being on the ice. The Prince of Skates has the talent and skill to do whatever he wants, but he can't figure out where to place his intention. Sometimes when we are presented with too many choices, we become paralyzed. All options seem equally attractive or unpleasant. Consider your options, remember your goal, then change forward in the direction that fits your desire. Okay. I feel like this is just a reminder here that it's like, I feel like before either you or this person decide to move forward in that situation, it's going to be something where either options are being let go of or just mistakes from the past are being realized. It's one of those things where when somebody wants to pursue a romantic interest, I feel like there's a lot that goes into that, especially when we're getting the Princess of Berries, where it's a very serious energy. This isn't like one night stand energy. Where's my microphone? Sorry, it just got like buried. I thought I lost it for a second. So this isn't like a one-night stand, okay? I don't feel like this is somebody. I do feel like this is somebody that has options. This could also be you having options, or this person is afraid that you have options, and so they feel like they need to step it up to maybe, I don't want to say like win you over. I don't feel like it's that kind of energy. They may feel like that. This person may feel like they need to do that in order to really get you to fully invest in the connection, but it seems like you already have made that decision to do so. You know, I feel like even though this card does have to do with indecisions, this could just speak of you making that choice. You may have already made that choice, you know, and that's why you're starting to see this grow, right? We're going to go ahead and do some Hieronymus Bosch. I want to see what challenges you may be facing or just general advice regarding this. I don't know, because we did have a little bit of indecision that was coming up, so let's just kind of delve into that, see what Spirit has to come out. Okay. Bottom of the deck, we have Page of Swords. We have gotten this one. I believe it says eagerness, enthusiasm, and future potential. And then we have Illumination, which I think we have gotten maybe one time on video. It says revelation, knowledge, light, and darkness. And so that's kind of what I'm seeing, man. I feel like this is somebody here who has had a revelation about this connection, okay? This could be you or your person. If we're going off of kind of what we've been tapping into in the past, I feel like this would likely be your person because from what I understand, you have been interested and pursuing in this relationship or even just investing here and there. I don't feel like it's something where you're giving all of yourself away, but I feel like not only you, but your person is now having this revelation. There was a message that came out on Instagram having to do with being too much in your masculine energy. I do know that I personally resonate with the divine feminine, what would you call it? Energy. I mean, there's a word that I'm looking for. It's not stereotype, archetype. So I resonate a lot with the divine feminine archetype, and I personally find that if I'm too much in my masculine energy, things start to stagnate, right? And so for me personally, one of my big lessons just recently is really learning to fall into that divine feminine space. I mean, it's been a big lesson for me for a long time. It's something that I've always had to kind of, you know, step into. And just as of late, I feel like I was in my divine feminine energy so much that I had to start stepping into my masculine energy, and now I feel like there's a need to balance that out, right? And so I feel like that's kind of what I'm seeing. It's like when you step into that space, it gives your person the ability to step into that space as well. I feel like there is a lot of potential between you two, even if it's not fully moving just yet, even if there's a little bit of indecisiveness on the table. I feel like it's just Spirit's just asking you to just be patient. I feel like you're going to be getting revelations about this connection. If you've been asking for clarity about this connection, I feel like that's going to be coming in for you. It can always come in different ways. Again, it's going to be different for everybody. The timeline's not going to be the same for everybody, but it's something where it's going to be either, you know, you can like signs and synchronicities. It can be through just like a conversation with somebody. It could be from the person themselves, you know, sending you signs and little hints here and there. Because keep in mind, like, even though we did have the courting card, everybody's process of courting is going to look different. It's not always going to be the same for everybody else. The way that you may see romance may not be the way that they see romance. And so I feel like right now there's a need to have common ground before really fully moving forward. I feel like the advice here is take the time to get to know this person. Take the time to actually understand who they are as a person, what they want out of life, how they view relationships, get to know their past. So many different things that could go into that. I feel like that's just the process of courting, right? It's not always going on romantic dates or planning your future together. Sometimes courting is, you know, becoming somebody's best friend, man. Sometimes courting is supporting somebody in something they love, or vice versa, or just really being a supportive person, showing that you can be consistent, showing that you actually want to be in this connection, but still being, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of words seem to be escaping me today. I'm going to chalk that up to Aquarius season. But it's just this energy of not being afraid to set your boundaries, right? That is what we did have come up in some of the past readings. Specifically, I think it was the last reading we did, part 1, not being afraid to set your boundaries. That essentially gives people the space to develop a sense of respect for you and to value your worth. If you're consistently overgiving, or you're overstepping your own boundaries, and this person can see that, oftentimes that's going to be interpreted as you not necessarily knowing, either one, being insecure, not knowing what you want, or just being very desperate, right? And I know desperation energy can get a little wonky when it comes to stuff like this, but sometimes people are a little bit turned off by that. I don't think that's everybody, but I think a lot of the times, you know, as a whole, most people seem to want somebody that's confident, secure in themselves. I mean, just think about things that you're looking for in a relationship or a partner. You know, do you embody those things? Do you feel like you're showing up in the way that you want this person to show up? But also, would you want your person to be showing up the way you are? So if you're showing up in a way that's overgiving and now you're holding resentment because you're not getting anything back based on what you feel like you need to be getting, you know what I mean? It's something to reflect on, I feel like. We're going to move on to another deck, though. And we're going to see what comes out. We're going to use the Sorcerer's Tarot. Okay, so I give thanks to my guides, my angels, and my ancestors for any messages that want to come out. All right, bottom of the deck we have the Empress. Those cards came out really quickly. Okay, we do have the Two of Swords. We have the Fool, Queen of Swords, Seven of Wands, back to the Two of Swords. Yeah, I just honestly, man, it really just feels like there's people around you guys. This just keeps coming out. I don't know why. Maybe the person you're dealing with has a lot of people around them. Doesn't have to be romantic or options. It could just be friends. They have a lot of friends. They have people. Maybe it's somebody who is in the public eye. They do stuff on the internet. I don't know. Maybe they're like a comedian. They run a meme page. They're a tarot reader. They stream. They do whatever. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where I feel like this is somebody who has that Seven of Wands energy. There's a lot of people who want things from them, and I feel like it's a decision for this person to really turn their back on that. This could be you too, you know what I mean? It's this energy where it's like, I'm seeing two different things. I'm seeing this from, you know, your person's perspective and your perspective. So if we're looking at this from your person's perspective, if this person has been closed off and it feels like they've turned their back on this connection, it's not because they don't want this. I feel like there's a desire to actually, you know, take a risk on this. But they're so very used to people coming around being in this Seven of Wands energy. And I don't feel like they're used to somebody like you, again, being in the Empress energy, coming forward and actually embodying an unconditional love that I don't think a lot of people are used to. Especially when it comes to people who have some kind of following on the internet, or they're just popular in general. There's this, not even just being popular, just life in general, dude. Like, once you get to a certain point in your life, it's a pretty normal experience for people to come around to try to get something from you, and then once they get what they want, they'll usually go their own way, right? That can go so many different ways, but that's what I'm seeing here. This is somebody who is used to that kind of energy, and they almost expect it, is kind of what I'm hearing, is they almost expect you to come around and try to take what you need and leave. But the fact that you're showing up consistently and knowing what you want, and really just embodying that divine feminine energy, being very nurturing, being very loving and giving, and all of those kinds of things. It's really just allowing them to learn to trust this process is kind of what it feels like, okay? This is somebody who is, I feel like, gathering their thoughts. They may just be very, very busy, have a lot of things going on. But again, I feel like they're willing to take the risk on this. And if you're willing to be patient, you know, I can see this being a very successful endeavor for you, because we have the Six of Wands. I don't know why I said it like that. And then we have the King of Wands, okay? So I feel like this is what it's leading into, because you're in that feminine energy and you're showing up in a healthy way. You know, it's almost this energy too where you're also learning, you've turned your back on this kind of Seven of Wands competitive energy. If there's like people, like, it's one of those things where I don't feel like, it doesn't feel like you're somebody who wants to compete for somebody's attention or have to like be in a competition with a bunch of options, because, well, you're the Empress, and it's not to say that other people don't have value or worth, or that they're not good enough for whoever, but it's to say that there's no comparison to you, right? And that's kind of what I feel like this person is seeing here. You're not like anybody else. You stand out. You're different. And I don't feel like it's because you try to be. You just are, just being who you are, being in your Empress energy. I feel like there are a lot of people in the world that do try to embody the Empress energy, but they don't take the time to work through all of the different major arcana, court cards of like all the different queen cards, right? I feel like that's kind of like prerequisite to step into the Empress energy, that divine feminine energy, is having to go through the lessons of all the different court cards. And that's kind of why I like doing tarot, because that's what I see the cards as. I see them as an opportunity, as a portal for us to look at ourselves and face different lessons that we may not have been able to face if we weren't looking into ourselves in this depth, right? We can use it to look into the future and look into other people's energies for sure, but I think at the end of the day it really comes down to us and how we're processing things, how we're moving in the world, and taking accountability for how we move in the world, okay? And that's also what I'm seeing as maybe a final little message with these cards, is learning to take accountability for how you have shown up. If you have shown up very cold and guarded and seeming very closed off, well, this is the advice here to maybe let go of that energy, to realize that the only person you're in competition with is yourself, and that you are the Empress, but you just have to embody that energy. So this is a major message that I not only saw in a reading that I watched yesterday, but it came out in my reading on Instagram, and it is now coming out in this reading again. Well, actually, you know what? The reading is going to be posted on YouTube Shorts too. I forgot I've been posting them on YouTube, but it's needing to really step into your feminine energy. It's like we talked about earlier in the reading, right? Finding that balance, okay? But regardless, though, I do feel like this is going to be an evolution of this connection. We're going again to the bottom of the deck. This is something where we're going to talk about this too, because these are almost the exact cards that came out in our reading on Instagram. Yeah, well, it's either, I could say that I didn't shuffle it well enough, but y'all saw me shuffling, and these are the exact cards. This is literally up until here. This is literally these are the cards that came out for the reading on Instagram, which has never happened before. Usually I don't ever get these, except for this one too. I never actually get every single card that came out on Instagram, but today we got every single card that came out on Instagram. And so we're going to talk about the main message there, man. The main message there is that although there are deep emotions here, it's one of those things where, let me try to get it out. I'm going to get it out in the way I got it out on Instagram, because it looks like Spirit wants me to talk about that. So it's essentially this energy where I feel like there are things from the past that are holding you both back. I don't feel like it's any one person. When you enter these types of divine connections, there are going to be things from the past that keep you stuck. And it's almost like a test from the universe. The universe is kind of like, well, you know what you want, right? You've taken the time to reflect. It's needing to actually pay attention to what's going on around you. And I don't feel like this has to do with the other person. I feel like this has to do with you. What ways do you feel like you're self-sabotaging? A lot of the times when we get into these healthy connections, or we get into a new relationship, it's really easy to fall into a fear-based mindset. It's really easy to project our trauma onto people. And I've been talking about this on Instagram too, just posts. I've been posting more and making posts talking about different aspects of my experiences. And one of the things that was coming up was like breadcrumbing and toxic relationships and toxic dynamics. And this is the message I feel like is coming through here. It's to say that just because somebody triggers you does not mean the relationship is toxic. It's more so needing to actually reflect on yourself, your mental health, your attachment styles, your trauma, and understanding the other person's, all of those things as well, and how you project that onto people. Is it subconscious programming? Are you subconsciously attracted to situations that reflect that old way of thinking? And then when you get into a new situation that doesn't reflect that, that's where the triggers really start to come in. I personally have experienced this many times, where nothing will be wrong, but it's a natural thing that happens, where I feel like you tend to look for something wrong when there's nothing wrong, right? It's this energy where you're like, well, is this really it? Is this really my person? Is this too good to be true? And if you don't find anything wrong, you naturally are going to start looking for things wrong. And I feel like that just is some kind of subconscious program. Oh my God, I can't even speak, excuse me. I feel like this is some type of subconscious programming that comes from the way we've been raised, be it the educational system. Just think about the way we write essays. I know it's a weird example, but like writing an essay, right? You're writing and making it perfect and perfecting everything and getting everything the way it needs to be, but then you're always looking for something wrong. And I don't feel like, it's not saying that like we've been trained to think like that, but it's to say that because that's how we were raised as kids, to look for things that have been wrong, to fix them in so many different ways, and just in life in general, it's really easy to project that onto our relationships, okay? So let's talk about these cards. These are the other cards that came out. in order for this wheel to turn in this relationship, there's going to be a need to walk away from, this could be past people. I don't feel like it is. I feel like what we've already talked about is we've walked away from past people. We've closed out those cycles already. So now we're needing to reflect on what those cycles taught us to make sure we don't repeat the same mistakes. It's stepping into that high priestess energy and really being a spiritual badass, bro. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, really being that bitch. Like, stepping up into that shit and saying, no, like, I don't tolerate any, like, fuckery from the past. I don't tolerate none of this shit anymore. I am the Empress. I'm in touch with my emotions. I'm very spiritually in tune. I am intuitive. I trust that the universe is always working in my favor. I trust that things are always working out for me. And I trust in the goodness of the universe. Some people may say that the universe is cold and heartless and only really has to go based off of vibes, which can be the case. But I feel like if you are essentially manifesting from that place and you live in that space of love and unconditional love, you're going to be experiencing more of that. Again, but the way to really get to that space is to let go of those old cycles that are keeping you stuck, okay? So we're going to go back to Hieronymus Bosch to close out this reading. Which is right here. All right. So any final messages, Spirit, that you have for us? We have about 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 7 or so minutes. All right, okay, we got one card. Oh my God, excuse me. So bottom of the deck, we have Temptation. It says desire, sex, passion, and greed. And we got these before. We have the Ace of Swords and the Queen of Books. Let's see. I don't think we've read Temptation before, so we'll read that from the book. But just right off the bat, man, I feel like, again, the Queen of Books aren't necessarily pentacles in this deck. Pentacles in this deck are coins, but we don't, no, yeah, so they're coins. Books, I don't know what the elements are from here. I'm going to take a look. I want to see, actually, because they have associations. So it's earth and air, so that will basically be pentacles and swords. And the meanings of the suit are knowledge, intelligence, and learning, okay? So I feel like there's more to be learned about the situation, and this is also kind of what came through on Instagram. I feel like you're going to be receiving confirmation. It's going to be something that actually calms a lot of your fears, right? If this is a relationship that hasn't been moving, or it's been moving very slowly, or again, you or this person have been very guarded, which has caused things to move slowly, I feel like that's going to be coming to an end, but it's just going to take you really being patient and using your intuition, because keep in mind, man, when it comes to stuff like this, I don't know, oftentimes things aren't just going to be fully written out for you to understand. Like, there's no right or wrong way to do relationships. There are toxic ways to do relationships for sure, and I feel like we've, as a collective that I read for, we've already worked through a lot of that stuff. We've gotten ourselves to a point where we're smart enough to know when we are actually being triggered and how to not project those triggers, how to take space to process those emotions and still show up. That's one of the things I've been learning about in love and relationships too. It's still being able to show up in a relationship when you're triggered, when you're feeling emotional and sensitive, being able to communicate that to somebody in a healthy way without projecting, right? And so that can look like using I statements, like saying, like, I feel like this, I feel like unloved because of this thing that happened, or I feel like I don't like not being able to talk to you very often, or you only answering my messages every few days makes me feel unwanted or unseen, right? So something like that, where you're kind of not making it about this person, making it about how you actually feel, okay? And I feel like that's what the universe is asking you to do. I feel like you will have the opportunity to do that. But regardless, more than anything, this is kind of going back to the original cards that we got. It's actually understanding that a lot of new information will be brought to light, right? Again, we're going direct. All planets are direct. We are in Aquarius season. Things are going to be moving. And I don't know, the speed's going to be different for everybody. Bigger manifestations do take longer sometimes, but it is a confirmation to say that things will be moving in a healthier, more reciprocal and balanced connection. I just feel like you guys kind of needed to really, you guys just needed to work through your shit, man. Like, I feel like that's just kind of what happens when you enter new connections. There's the need to take time to process things, but still be able to show up, man. And it's a balance, and I feel like it's something where you got to take the time to actually reflect, and there's an ebb and flow to it, and it's going to be different for everybody, man. Let's go and read this final card. I'm almost out of time here. All right, so it says, the moment before the fall is captured with delicate precision. An anthropomorphic serpent is offering Adam an apple after Eve has already tasted the forbidden fruit. Her newly acquired bodily shame is evidenced by the fig leaf she is clutching, while Adam, who has not yet eaten the apple, remains naked. Traditionally, card 25 of the tarot is the devil, and what that card represents holds true here, with the exception of anger, rage, or a negative outcome. Temptation, or not being satisfied with what you already have, represents an end to paradise, to happiness, and a quest for something more. While desiring to better your circumstances can be a positive step forward, it's not if you are already in a good situation and greedily grasp for more. Sexuality, lust, and desire were all present at the fall, along with Adam and Eve's greed to possess the forbidden knowledge. However, the serpent did not use anger or violence. Seduction was far more attractive. Okay? Again, just as a closing message, I do feel like there have been options around. I feel like there have been people tempting you, tempting your person. That's just how it goes, man. That's just life. That's love and relationships. You know, you can't stop another person from being interested in you or in your person. But the fact of the matter is if you are both interested in each other and you respect each other and you respect yourselves, there's no need to entertain that kind of energy, and I don't feel like that's something that's happening. I don't feel like your person is sitting here going around and throwing their energy at everybody. I feel like this is somebody who is very reserved and works very hard on what it is they need to accomplish in their life, want to accomplish in their life. They have goals, they have missions. That just as we here have our own purpose and soul mission, your person does too, especially when we're doing these divine relationships. And the beautiful thing about it is these tend to coincide. And I think that's kind of the realization that's coming in here, is you and your person are coming to a space of realizing, like, okay, we are actually really, truly wanting to move forward together because, well, we want the same things, we are working towards the same things, and we seem to be very similar in a lot of ways. And I think that's basically what's going to be coming in, man. If you've been wondering why your person has been a little distant, I feel like you're going to be getting clarity on that. There may have been temptations and third parties going around. We didn't have really any 3 energy that came through today. But that's a very real possibility for why your person may have been kind of, watching or waiting in the distance, weighing their options, trying to see, well, is this person being genuine? Is this actually something that can be beneficial for my life? Especially if your person is very successful and they're in a space in their life where they've worked very hard for what they have. They may be very cautious to letting people around them because they may have had people in the past that have only come around to act similar to the divine feminine. You know what's funny? I think that's a mosquito. I've never seen them out here. I just had a mosquito land right on my windshield, and I think that's a nice confirmation that it's like they may have had people around them that just come around, they're buzzing around them and then trying to, suck their blood and trying to just drain them of their resources, right? And I feel like they're really used to that, whether that's you or your person. I think both of you have experienced that. And it's something where you both know what that feels like. And so because you're actually experiencing something different, there's a lot of trauma being triggered. There's a lot of fears and questions being brought up in this situation. And it's just a matter of you, again, stepping into that divine feminine energy, trusting the process, trusting your person, and trust that if this is truly something that is meant to be, it's going to happen. And it's nothing that you can rush. It's not really anything. I mean, you could stop it and you can sabotage it and walk away from it, but it's something where the universe will continue to bring you back to what is meant for you, right? But that is all I have. We are out of time. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next reading. Goodbye.